Welcome back. I'm on my own again this week. Today I went to St. Mary Magdalene Byzantine Catholic Church. When you walk in, you'll immediately notice that everything looks very similar to the last church we went to, an Eastern Orthodox church.
So basically, all the traditions in the East that are a part of the Orthodox Church have also been kept in the Byzantine Rite of the Catholic Church. This church has everything that would make something Orthodox and everything that would make a Catholic. Weird way of describing it. Basically, every single thing about it, theologically and traditionally and aesthetically, is Orthodox. But they look to Rome. They still follow the Pope.
It's very beautiful. Obviously, I'm going to show a picture at the beginning. It has a very Eastern or just Russian-esque tower, the bulb thing. And it has an Orthodox cross instead of a simple cross or a crucifix with Jesus on it, which is a very old symbol, very ancient. It has two more lines, and the line on top going across represents the sign that Pontius Pilate nailed to the cross that says, Jesus the Nazarene, King of the Jews, in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek. And the line going diagonally across the bottom represents both where Jesus' feet were nailed,
but also the two thieves crucified on either side of him. One was just harassing him and just being a jerk, and the other saying, we deserve this, he does not, he's innocent. And he turns to him and says, remember me when you enter your kingdom. And so that line represents one going to hell and one going to heaven.
But yeah, this is pretty much, it looks just like an Orthodox church. In fact, when I walked in, a greeter, he kind of shuffled over to me and whispered,
"Are you visiting?"
I said, yeah. And he said,
"Are you Catholic or Orthodox?"
Since this is a Catholic church, I can take communion. Everything about it looks Orthodox. He asked, are you Catholic or Orthodox? So he could say, well, this is technically not an Orthodox church. The altar, it had the same doors with icons on the doors, and the priest would go behind it. They did have an icon, but it was Mary the Theotokos, not Mary Magdalene, even though this is St. Mary Magdalene. But it's right up at the front, right in front of the altar, so you have to walk up and kiss it, and then walk back and sit back down at the pews. Again, the pews had kneelers, but we didn't use them at all. It's very small. It looks like the entire building is just the roof of a building, but on the inside it's very small.
In early Christianity, if they were to have liturgy or mass, they did it in caves because it was illegal to be Christian. If you were a Christian and discovered, they would take you and throw you to the lions. Literally, that's something that happened in history in the Colosseum. So this is very reminiscent of that, and I don't know if that's on purpose, but I feel like it could be. It's very cramped and small, just like the caves they would have traditionally been in.
They had stained glass windows, but they were on the floor. Basically, they started on the floor and went to the top of the wall. They had scenes from the Bible, obviously, and in between each stained glass window they had an icon depicting a scene of the Bible or a saint. There's really been more paintings on the walls than any other church I've been to. I turned around while I was leaving and I saw some I didn't see before.
I also did the sign of the cross right to left rather than left to right like the Roman Catholics do. The priests can get married. The priest can't get married. You can get married and then become a priest, which you can't do in Roman Catholicism, but this rite allows you to because of tradition.
Last week I talked about a singer and I didn't know what to call her.
What would you call her? Like a singer?
Now I know, properly, she'd be called a cantor or a cantoress maybe. But this church also had a cantor, but he was in the back in the balcony singing, and we would all sing along. It was identical to the Orthodox liturgy, with one minor change where the priest would acknowledge authority under Leo, our Pope, and their Bishop Robert.
Even though we're in the same area, my Roman Catholic Church and this church, they have a different bishop compared to us because the different rites of the church are under different authority.
I was able to take communion, and it was just like the last communion, where there was a cup, a chalice, goblet you could say, and a spoon. The priest would take a spoon, grab a piece of the
body
that's soaked in the
blood.
So you get the
blood
and the
body
in the same bite, pretty much. He puts the spoon in your mouth and you go.
I could talk about the liturgy and every piece that's happened, but obviously it's the same as literally the last video. All the pieces and parts of the liturgy are the same. So instead I could just talk about the church authority and stuff.
So obviously, as Christianity spread through the world, like different parts of the world they're gonna like grow. Since they're so far apart, they're gonna grow to be a little different. And so the Eastern churches would have like the Orthodox liturgy and stuff, and in the West it would look more like how you'd expect a Roman Catholic Mass to look. And they would all have the Pope. Like even Eastern Orthodox recognizes the need for a Pope, and they have one, but they call him a patriarch, and it's more of a first among equals of all the bishops, rather than like the leader of the bishops. Before the schism, they all looked at the Roman Pope. They thought he was acting a little too powerful, among many other differences. That wasn't the only thing. But gradually, they just grew further and further apart until the 11th century, where they broke apart, officially schismed. And at this point, there were some still Eastern churches that still followed the Pope, where you would get Byzantine churches. But this church was built in 1923 from a group of immigrants who were Byzantine Catholics, and they brought it to America. But often, if you trace the history back into Europe, the churches, they would have been Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, but then realized the authority of the Pope and came back into communion with the Pope in the Catholic Church. So I find that pretty interesting and stuff. Like there's a lot more I could go into in talking about like sees and the Holy See, S-E-E-S, or like a throne of bishops, a throne of a bishop that rules over an area. But that's kind of just a little too complicated to fit into a short little TikTok.
My main takeaway from this church, like the Orthodox Church, they have the value in worshiping with your whole body and senses and mind and soul. But my main takeaway from the concept of the Byzantine Rite, these Orthodox that follow the Roman Pope, it's like unity with the church, trying to heal schisms rather than like keep schisms. Tearing apart God's church is not something Jesus would want. In the readings today, like it talked about unity and keeping one church, and I really like that. Like being able to have differences in the worship or liturgy or just traditions, but still being able to recognize that we are one in Christ, because in Christ there is neither Greek or Jew, and neither Greek or Roman. Compared to all the other churches, this so far has been my favorite. This is a tradition that I can really get behind, because I love Orthodoxy. I think the aesthetics of it are beautiful, but I also, I understand the papacy enough to stay Catholic. So this is definitely one that I, might just want to change and start coming to this one. It's not a matter of conversion because I'm already Catholic, but I can easily see myself going to this church and becoming a Byzantine Catholic. Very beautiful. Next week, Ben will be back and we'll be going to Bay Presbyterian Church in Bay Village. Thank you so much for watching.